Hi and welcome to a video update from the Fire Brigade Union. We're joined by Mark Rowe, who's the National Officer for the Union with responsibility for pensions. Now Mark, the most number of requests we get for a video update is on the issue of pensions. And that's primarily because, although the Union won a groundbreaking legal victory, there's still been a number of fire and rescue services refusing to let members retire under what we call the legacy scheme. But I think you've got some good news in this. You've been involved in negotiations, and those negotiations have got a good outcome for members. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, Tam, what we've been doing is, after we registered 3 test cases, the Fire and Rescue Service employers, through the legal team, approached the union to sit down and discuss resolution of those claims. And part of that was for agreement to be reached on a memorandum of understanding, which contains a framework for dealing with all immediate detriment cases.
Okay Mark, now you've used the term memorandum of understanding, framework, but what does this mean for members who either retire under what they regard as the wrong scheme, or who coming up for retirement, but the service may say, no, you have to retire under the new scheme? Will this framework resolve that issue for them?
It will resolve the issue for those members. The difficulty has been that the Fire and Rescue authorities have stated that these issues are too complex. So issues such as arrears of contributions, how tax issues are going to be dealt with, how interest is going to be paid, and contribution holidays, to name a few of the issues. All those issues the employers are saying are too difficult, and they were intending to wait until October 2023 for the Treasury to issue directions about how the Fire and Rescue authorities would deal specifically with those issues. What this framework does is it is, through the work that we've done with the Fire Service legal team, with the LGA and with the FBU legal team as well, as it has resolved all those issues, or the vast majority of those issues, and created a framework for the Fire and Rescue Authority to follow.
Okay, so what does this framework actually mean for members? Can a member now apply for a pension under what they regard as the right terms? And if so, what are the steps they have to take?
Well, once the framework is adopted by the Fire and Rescue Authority, it presents a 14-day initial window for members who are suffering immediate detriment or who are approaching retirement to contact the Fire and Rescue Service, and the Fire and Rescue Service then has to reply within 14 days to tell the member whether they are in scope. There is then a further 62 days within which the Fire and Rescue Authority and the administrators must provide the member who is inquired with 2 sets of figures for benefits in the 92 scheme and figures for benefits in the 2015 scheme, for the member to make a decision around which benefits they wish to take.
Okay, so the member will still have the choice. They can either decide to retire under the terms of the 92 scheme or the terms of the 2015 scheme. Those figures will be in front of that member, yeah?
We expect the vast majority of members to elect to retire under the 92 scheme, but members do have to be given the choice. And regardless of the time frame, they have 90 days from start to finish with which the Fire and Rescue Authority must deal with this issue for them.
Okay Mark, but we've also heard from members who've already retired, and they believe they've retired under the wrong scheme, the 2015 scheme. Will this framework assist them? Can they use the framework to get onto the terms of their previous scheme, the 92 scheme?
Absolutely. Members who have previously retired, whether that's been through normal retirement, who haven't been given the legacy scheme benefits, or members who've gone through ill health, they will utilise this framework to contact the Fire and Rescue Authorities so that they will be provided with a statement of arrears within that time frame. They will be provided with the figures of how much they are owed.
Okay Mark, and just quickly to get a bit of context here, I mean, how many members are affected by this? How many members will benefit from this framework?
There's almost 3,000 members who are at this present time suffering immediate detriment.
So 3,000 members potentially will benefit from this framework?
3,000 members, yes.
Okay, now this has gone out, it's on the website I believe, but what can members do if they've got queries initially? Who do they contact?
Well, members should initially contact the regions and the regions will pass any problems on to us. We have built into the time frame and into the framework documents a 2-week period whereby we will have an initial review to see how the framework is running to resolve any issues and discuss any issues that occurred initially.
Mark, that sounds like great news. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks,
We're
Tam.
now going to be joined by FBU General Secretary Matt Rowe. Now Matt, we've just heard from Mark, this sounds like great news. I picked up from what Mark said though, this has been negotiations between the FBU, fire service legal teams and indeed the LGA. But employers constantly use this term representative bodies. Just to be clear, no other body's been involved in this?
No, it's a bit frustrating, isn't it, Tam, when people try and confuse what's actually happened. It's only the Fire Brigade Union who has pursued this case from the start, won in court. And let's remember actually that if you look at the history of it, when we had to go on strike for our pensions, we were on our own, we were opposed by chief officers, by our employers. When we took this case originally, the employers could have sided with us in court, they chose not to and effectively sided with the government. And then when we won the case, both chief officers and employers have obstructed every step of the way the implementation, and Mark and our lawyers have had to spend months trying to negotiate this understanding, which should now resolve it. I think members are well aware who's fought this battle, and we need to make sure that's on the record. Yeah.
Okay, Matt. Now we keep having victories in regard to pensions, and yet only to find out there's more fights that we have to make. What happens if a fire and rescue service just tries to ignore this framework? What happens if they say, no, we refuse it, we're not going to play ball on this? What's the union going to do?
Well, it's 2 points. I think just as an aside, there are other cases we are taking up, and we'll cover those in other videos later. Yeah. So there are other issues in relation to pensions that we're still pursuing. In relation to this case, I think any employer who thinks they can avoid implementing these decisions based on this memorandum of understanding will find themselves in court again. And we've shown very clearly that we're not afraid to do that, and we will do that to any individual chief officer or fire service employer who doesn't do what they should be doing, what our members are entitled to see, and what the law requires them to undertake. So yeah, we'll challenge that, we'll take it up, and if necessary we'll go to court again.
Matt, that's a strong message to finish on. Now, for more updates on this issue, and indeed to see the Memorandum of Understanding, you can go to our website, that's www.fbu.org.uk. But of course, for more general updates on the work of the union, you can not just go to our website, you can also follow us on social media. Twitter, for instance, @FBU National. Thanks for joining us, and Matt, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks, Tam.